I'd like to call the Temecula Planning Commission meeting, regular meeting of October 2nd to order. And we will begin with a flag salute from Commissioner Turley Trejo.
Please stand and join me, and with your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Renee. We will do roll call now.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Here.
Solis,
Here.
Watts,
Here.
Turley Trejo, and Chair Hagel.
Here,
All are present.
we're all here.
Yeah.
So I gather there is not a public comment, but there is someone to speak on one of the items, is that?
We have not received public comments.
Okay, so I can skip that, but you do
Yes.
have someone for,
We have someone to speak on item number 2.
okay, then I'll read it then. Okay, I do have to read this long paragraph on the consent calendar. All matters under consent calendar are considered to be routine, and all will be enacted by one vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless members of the commission request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. A total of 30 minutes is provided for members of the public to address the commission on items that appear on the consent calendar. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Public comments may be made in person at the meeting by submitting a speaker card to the commission secretary. Speaker cards will be called in the order received. Still images may be displayed on the projector. All other audio and visuals are prohibited. Public comments may also be submitted by email for inclusion in the record. Email comments must be received prior to 6 p.m. and submitted to planningcommission@temeculaca.gov. All public participation is governed by council policy regarding public participation at meetings adopted by resolution number 2021-54. And we have the minutes on our consent calendar, and that is all we have on the consent calendar.
I'll move consent.
Second.
We have a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
And it passes 5-0. And we will go to the public hearing. And so it was item number 2 that you had? Okay, so I will read the statement on public hearings. Any person may submit written comments to the commission before the public hearing or may appear and be heard in support of or in opposition to the approval of the projects at the time of the hearing. If you challenge any of the project or projects in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the commission secretary at or prior to the public hearing. For public hearings, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Public comments may be made in person at the meeting by submitting a speaker card to the commission secretary or by submitting an email to be included into the record. Email comments must be submitted to planningcommission@temeculaca.gov. Email comments on all matters, including those not on the agenda, must be received prior to the time the item is called for public comments. Any person dissatisfied with the decision of the commission may file an appeal of the commission's decision. Said appeal must be filed within 15 calendar days after service of written notice of the decision. The appeal must be filed on the appropriate Community Development Department form and be accompanied by the appropriate filing fee. All public participation is governed by the council policy regarding public participation at meetings adopted by resolution number 2021-54. The first item under the public hearing is number 2, planning application number PA 24-0254, a conditional use permit application for a Type 47 ABC license for Landeros Mexican Grill and Cantina located on 41925 5th Street, Suite 102. Jaime is presenting. Is that correct?
Correct. There we go.
So yeah, this project is a conditional use permit application for a full-service restaurant to obtain a Type 47. That's the on-sale general eating place alcohol license, which is essentially a restaurant with beer, wine, and distilled spirits. The project site is located at 41925 5th Street, Suite 102, which happens to be in the Cameron Historic Building, and that's generally located on the west side of Mercedes and the east of Old Town Front Street. Here we have a floor plan of the Unit 102, which is located on the first floor. It's a total of 2,900 square feet. Area highlighted in red is 1,200 square feet of the indoor dining and bar area. Now highlighted is 350 square feet of the outdoor dining portion of the building. And then lastly, the 1,350 square feet is for restrooms, kitchen, hallways, refrigeration, and miscellaneous back of house areas. So the Type 47 on-sale general eating place will allow for spirit-based drinks on the menu to accompany the meals. This authorizes the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for consumption on the licensed premises. And Landeros is essentially a full-service restaurant that specializes in Mexican cuisine. The proposed operational hours are from 9 a.m. through up to 11:59 p.m., 7 days a week. ABC is the entity that will be processing the public convenience or necessity review. And then conditions have been added to the conditional use permit, which include full service, a full menu available at all hours where alcohol is being served. And then the termination of alcohol sales shall be no less than 1/2 hour prior to closing. No live entertainment is proposed. And the applicant has been advised by staff that an entertainment license permit is required for any future entertainment proposed. From a CEQA standpoint, the project is exempt per 15061B3, since there's no possibility that the proposed project would have any significant impact on the built environment. It's also exempt per 15301 Class 1, as these are existing facilities with no site changes. And with that, staff recommends the approval for planning application PA 240254, subject to our conditions of approval. That concludes my presentation. Staff's here for any questions, as is the applicant.
Okay, we will start with questions, and just a reminder, questions only before we open up the public hearing. Why don't we start down here?
I just had one question. If in the future the applicant would like to have live entertainment, maybe for the dinner, would it just be like a special permit through a committee? That's my question.
Recently, the city council approved the live entertainment ordinance, which allows for all restaurants to essentially, within certain parameters, have live entertainment, and that gets reviewed, if I'm not mistaken, administratively.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
That's it. Okay. Gary?
No questions.
Lene?
No, I have questions for the applicant, but not for staff.
I'm good right now.
You good? Okay. I do not have any questions at this point. So,
Well, sorry, actually, can you clarify that, Matt, what Fernando asked about the entertainment? Because can you just clarify that?
Yeah, so the live entertainment is not a part of this conditional use permit application. We have a separate process for that. You can apply for a class 1, 2, or 3 entertainment license, and it just depends on the type of live entertainment they want to do. But it's a separate license that has an annual renewal.
Right, I was just wondering, I didn't understand, I guess, what Jaime said then, because that seemed different than what you're saying.
In addition to what I just explained, the city council just approved that pilot program
Right.
to allow outdoor
Right.
entertainment from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. So that's another aspect of the
Right,
live entertainment. So
Yeah.
there are plenty of options.
Okay. Then I will open up the public hearing.
Yes, we have one speaker, Sandra Aguirre.
Hello, good evening. My name is Sandra Geary. I'm the property manager at 41925 Fifth Street.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I just wanted to speak on behalf of Landeros Mexican Grill. They are a reliable tenant. To me, in my opinion, they are a gem for the city of Temecula. They are, provide high-quality food and just a great ambiance. They're a asset to us as the property managers. And that's really it. I just wanted to speak in favor of them and plead for you to approve their license.
Good, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no one else?
We have no further speakers.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing.
I think Commissioner Turley Trejo had some questions for the applicant.
Oh,
Is
that's
the
right, I'm
applicant-
sorry. Okay, open up public hearing. Yeah. The applicant, do you want to come up?
Hi, everybody. My name is Veronica Landeros. I'm the owner and president of the restaurant here in Old Town Temecula. I just want to thank all of you guys for the time you guys are taking to review this application. This is my daughter-in-law. She also manages my restaurant. We're a small family-owned restaurant. A little bit about ourselves. I've been a restaurant owner in Temecula for over 20 years. In addition to Landeros Mexican Grill, we own El Ranchito Taco Shop off of Winchester Margarita. We always try to give back to the community, the schools, fundraisers, things like that. And I just want to, I just would like to be approved. It's been very hard and challenging to not have for us to serve margaritas and stuff for our customers. Sometimes people come in and not try our food just because they want like a good margarita with their meal, So it's been a little challenging. So that's why we're seeking to obtain this license. But that's it.
Okay, good. You want to ask your question?
sure.
Hi.
Here we go. Welcome. Yeah, I just drove by there the other day because I wasn't sure where it was. And yeah, so I just have some questions regarding, so I know your hours before were 11 to 9, Tuesday through Sunday. So now that's being changed quite a bit, right? You're going to be open on Mondays and from 9 to midnight, basically.
So we're planning to open Mondays. I feel like it's going to get a little bit busier for us, so we're trying to open Mondays. And now that we're fully staffed, it's easier for us to be able to be open on Mondays. So yeah, we're trying to add that day. And regarding we just wanted to have an extension to say we want to be open until 11:59, but most of the time we're going to be closing at probably 10 o'clock, to be honest, because our last call would be 9:30 and close by 10. We just want to have the flexibility, just in case there's like a party that hangs out a little longer, to be open until 12, but our plan is not to be open like that long. It won't, I won't have it on my menu to be open that late. It'll be an exception if there's like a party that stays longer.
And what about opening 2 hours earlier in the morning? Like what? Do you serve breakfast or?
Yes, on weekends. We are currently open, I believe, at 9.
At 10
10.
on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we've just been noticing when we're there, beforehand, opening prep, we do get kind of several people coming, looking in, knocking. So we just want to have that flexibility to open just in case we want to open earlier for those more early breakfast people.
Okay. Okay, so I had a question about that, and then your full menu is available at all hours. The alcohol is served, like that's in the, so that's really important. And then I was looking at number 11, which is the revocation of a CUP, and And the last little paragraph is just the right of the city, its Director of Community Development, Planning Commission, and City Council to review, revoke, or modify any conditional use permit approved. And so when we have people come and ask for a type 47, I just want to make sure they understand it's a big responsibility as an owner to have a type 47. It's very
Yes,
different.
I could bet. I mean, we're very responsible. We're family-owned. I've been doing this for my parents since I was a little girl. I know how it is with dealing with people that, you know, like, say somebody comes with, that is, drank alcohol, you know, for me, as a waitress, when I used to work for my sister, I would tell, you know, the person that was responsible, can you help me? Because this person's, you know, seems to be drunk, and we didn't serve anymore. So we're responsible in that matter, that we know, we're trying to judge people to be, like, responsible. And like I said, it's not our priority to just sell, like, alcohol. We just want to do it to have a better meal, you know, serve our culture, the margarita with our meal, not mainly just alcohol, you know?
Yeah,
So we
okay.
try to be responsible in that matter.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, it just, you may know about the alcohol ordinance that was just passed, and so it is a concern of the City Council and Planning Commission with the alcohol that is in Old Town, and so we want good players. We want people that will follow the rules, and, you know, I was able to go on a ride-along in Old Town on a Saturday night until 2:30 a.m., and that was really eye-opening, and so it is. I understand what you're saying in wanting that with the meal, with, you know, a Mexican meal, but just, you know, being mindful of that responsibility as an owner to have a type 47, because there's a lot of alcohol going on in Old Town on the
Yeah.
weekends.
Yeah.
So you want to be that restaurant that is known as a really good player. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, and we want to be known as that as well, and we're going to try, you know, 100% to be that restaurant.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think the other thing just to know is that serving alcohol is one thing, but you've got people coming in who have been in 2 or 3 other places already drinking, and, you know, you may end up facing some things that you don't want to face, so just a kind of reminder of that. Any other questions?
Wait, just one other thing, sorry.
Oh.
And with the 9 a.m. opening, like, that was another concern of mine, like, people drinking that early too. Like, I know we had somebody come in wanting a type 47 so that they had customers that were asking for Bloody Marys at 9 a.m. And
Wow.
I'm like, what the heck? Why do you need one at 9? Anyway, so just kind of, what? Anyway, so that was my question too, about the 9 a.m. of just, you know, breakfast is one thing, having drinks served too, you know, anyway, that's just a concern I have with it being early.
I feel like
I
also,
can speak to that because I'm
Go ahead.
there a lot of the times. I'm kind of like boots on the ground. And we don't open at 9 now, we open at 10, and it is really honestly rare for people to come in and order. Well, right now we just have like beer, wine, champagne, but it really isn't a heavy drinking crowd there in the morning. It's honestly pretty rare. We almost don't even need a bartender on in the mornings currently.
But it might be different with a type 47, that's all I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes,
Yeah, just being mindful of that.
Totally.
Okay.
I totally understand.
we would like also make sure that they want to come and eat breakfast and not just have
Right.
drinks, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
So hopefully they, you know, that's what we need to train our staff on.
Right.
Make sure that these people don't want to just, you know, have a bunch of drinks and
And
be
leave,
impaired or.
right?
That's not the type of environment we want because we have a lot of families, especially, you know, before 7 at night, from when we open to like 7, it's really kid-friendly, family-heavy in the morning, so we don't want that environment either.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Gary?
There are many Mexican restaurants in Temecula, and they're all good, but yours is one of my favorites.
Thank you.
So I
I'm
want
honored.
to, I hope I can clarify some of this. You already have an alcohol license, you're already serving alcohol, is that correct?
Yes.
And the reason why we're here is you're extending your hours, is that?
Yes, both things, like she mentioned. The type 47 would allow us to have like a margarita, which has tequila in it. Currently, we just have beer, wine, You know.
agave wine. The margaritas are all wine-based currently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, that's the confusing part, because I've had a margarita there, so.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
So you're ordering your Bloody Mary
So
for
thank you
tomorrow
for
morning?
not walking out on us.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's good. I've had nothing but positive things to say about your restaurant, and as well as all the other ones in town, not to single you out, but it is one of my favorites.
Thank you for that.
Anything?
No, I'd just like to note that I have been in there. I like that tree that you guys have in the middle.
Thank you. It was
I had
important.
ate there, and
Yeah.
there was like a wine tour that my wife took me to, and you guys are one of the restaurants.
Wow.
I don't see them, I see them as a full restaurant. They don't even have a bar. You don't even have a bar area where you can,
We
I
have
don't- I
a
don't-
small little bar top, but it's not like the main part of the restaurant. I feel
Yeah.
it's more dining than the bar.
it's more dining, and
Yeah.
that's where I was going at. The design of the whole restaurant is more of a dine-in, sit-down restaurant where I
Correct.
don't see any of these alcohol late night turning into bar as a problem, the way you're designed and the way I think you operate, because I've been there several times.
Yeah, that's kind of what we try to do, is just make it more family,
Yeah.
sit-down restaurant. And we brought the tree from Guadalajara. It was a big challenge to pass it, inspect it, get it ready. It was but I wanted that just because it wowed me when I went to a restaurant in Guadalajara. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I want that in my restaurant. I want
Yeah,
people
like-
to feel that ambience of Mexico,
Yes.
in our place. So we brought it from there.
So yeah, I think their design goes well with the full sit-down, full restaurant. So,
Good.
thank you.
Good, thank you.
Nothing further.
No.
Everything's been covered, yep.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank all of you. Thank you, guys.
Yep, I guess we're done. I'm closing the public hearing now for discussion, anything? No, I will ask for a motion then, unless you have. Well, did you have?
Oh, I was looking at Adam.
No,
Sorry.
Adam,
Yeah, I mean, I think I voiced my concerns, and I think as long as that's the intent here, to keep it a family restaurant and that it's incidental, it's not the main focus of the restaurant. I think that's my main thing with as much alcohol that is down there in Old Town. So I'm okay with it, as long as that's the intent.
anybody else want to weigh in?
Oh, there we go. It says green, but it's not on. Okay. I haven't been there, so my husband and I'll have to come and try it. He's from Mexico. So there you go. Not Guadalajara, but he's from Mexico.
Anything?
No, I mean, I would agree. I understand your concern, and I think it's important that we,
Yeah.
we do look at that, but I think the way the business is set up, and also the business location, it's not on Front Street where someone could be bouncing from place to place too. I mean, it's still in Old Town, I get it, but I just don't think I don't see it, hopefully not becoming a major problem down there. I understand the intent of what they're doing.
I agree. Anything?
I believe it's in a great location, and
Yeah,
like Commissioner Reese said, great location, be a great addition to all the other restaurants that are in there that also have the same type of license, and they're gonna be doing the same thing, so.
okay, I will call for a motion then.
So I will move the approval of plan application PA 24-0254, subject to the conditions of approval.
I second.
You have a second?
Hmm?
We've got a second. We will vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Nope, it's 5-0.
Congratulations.
It passes. So thank you, and we'll see you 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, right? Yeah. Okay. Number 3 on our agenda is planning application number PA 22-1124 and PA 22-1125, a development plan and conditional use permit for the construction of approximately 64,051 square foot Paradise Chevrolet commercial truck dealership that includes rooftop parking, sales, service, part storage, located at 42105 Dealer Drive, APN number 921-730-072. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Planning Commissioners, as you stated, this is planning application numbers PA 22-1124 and 1125 for Paradise Chevrolet. So also, as you stated, is a conditional use permit and development plan for the construction of approximately 64,051 square foot commercial truck dealership. The location is here in red on the screen at 42105 DLR Drive. A little bit of analysis on the project. It is located within the Service Commercial Zoning District. The project does contain a commercial truck sales, which has a customer lounge, a service center, which contains 37 service bays, parts storage, and rooftop parking. This is the site plan before you. There are 2 points of ingress and egress on either side of the building onto and off of DLR Drive. The green is the sales and reception area. The yellow-orange are the service bay locations. And then the purple are the parts areas. In terms of elevations, the architecture is very similar with all the rest of the buildings in the Temecula Auto Mall. They utilize the aluminum composite panels and the EFIS finishes, which you see all up and down Inez and even over by Harveston with those dealerships as well. This is the location of the service area that you would see from DLR Drive. And then if you're coming in from the other direction along DLR. So from Interstate 15, this would be the rear of the building and the display parking as well here. Now it's a little deceptive because the building itself is set back approximately 310 feet from the travel lanes of I-15. So you're over a football field before you get to the building. So all that area in the back is mostly display area and some service parking. In terms of landscaping, so there's no landscape coverage requirements for dealerships in our municipal code, but the project does meet the landscape standards for dealerships. So some of the plant types include bay laurel tree, red yucca, Texas Ranger, red sage, and cat's claw vine. In terms of environmental, a mitigated negative declaration was prepared by an environmental consultant along with the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. The M&D determined that the project impacts can be mitigated to levels considered less than significant for the following environmental factors: biological resources, cultural resources, geology and soils, hazard and hazardous materials, and tribal cultural resources. With that, staff does recommend the Planning Commission approve PA 22-1124 and PA 22-1125, subject to the conditions of approval. That concludes my staff report. I'm here for questions. The environmental consultant is here for questions, and then the applicant team is here as well.
Thank you, Scott. Why don't we start down with Adam?
Nothing for staff at this time.
Okay. Nothing? Nothing? Nope. Anything down there? No? Believe it or not, I don't know if we have any questions. For staff, yeah. Okay.
Hi, good evening. Sherry Monroe for M
If we can just,
Engineering.
Yeah, 1 second, I just got to open up the public hearing.
Oh,
So
sorry.
public hearing is now open. Hi, Terry.
Thank you. Sherry Monroe for M Engineering and Development here in Temecula. For the applicant, Mr. Gilmore. Mr. Gilmore is here with me. Our team is here. We just wanted to let you know we concur with the conditions of approval. Staff's done a great job with the exception of one. And I'm going to let Mr. Gilmore, because it's an operations issue, explain to you what his concern is, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Now is my turn?
Yeah.
Your turn.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for your service. It's been 25 years since the last time I was in front of the Planning Commission, and 33 years ago for my first dealership. So thanks again for your service. I am really good with, staff has been excellent to work with. And the only objection I have on the plan is where they have islands, landscape islands on my display area where cars are parked. 25 years ago, we mitigated that because it's not customer parking, it's literally display parking. But I would defer to Scott to explain. We've had many conversations in the last couple of weeks, and I would defer to him to maybe explain why they're not necessary on those ends of two rows. Scott?
So Mr. Gilmore did contact staff after the final plans had been turned in. So at that point, it really becomes a determination of the Planning Commission. And Jonathan, if we can put up the slide. So section 17.10.020.D.1.A, which is the supplemental development standard specifically for automobile dealerships as it relates to landscaping. So this development standard says for display areas specifically, a minimum 5-foot wide landscape island shall be required at the end of all display area lanes adjacent to the main entry drive lane. So again, this is the landscape plan that they provided us. What Mr. Gilmore is referring to is these landscape islands on the end of display parking. So what really it is it's a determination on where the main entry drive lane ends. So if you're entering the project and it is Mr. Gilmore's request that this is considered the main entry drive, and then even going over here. So once you get past this point on either end, that the landscape island should not be required per the development code. But at this point, it is up to the Planning Commission to make that determination, and it's not staff's determination.
Okay.
Can we ask?
And if I can, I'd
Yeah.
like to explain a little bit about the commercial truck industry. We're going to be the only, if you can imagine this, in the city of Temecula, the only commercial GM dealership in the United States that is both sales and service. There's many that have separate locations, but we will be the first in the United States. Some of our trucks are 45 and 50 feet long. They require big turning areas. Where they have proposed those landscape areas, we will probably put a truck there. But if we need to move it, it's easily moved to get trucks in or out from either corner. So when I talked to Scott, I said, you know, we talked about this 25 years ago. My dealership that's built today and the Buick GMC store that was built as well in 2000, we have zero landscape in the display area. We have no customer parking in that area. But if you look at where the customer parking area is and all the perimeter of this big piece of property, we have got an enormous amount of landscaping, and it's going to be incredibly attractive. So we're sensitive to that, but 25 years ago when this came up, they made it so as long as that's not part of the drive area, that I shouldn't be required. So that's my point.
Do we have any questions, Terry? You want to?
Actually, I have a question of staff. So in other dealerships, how is that set up? Do they have landscaping in those areas?
They do have landscape in those areas, but again, as Mr. Gilmore stated, it's more cars and regular sized trucks, so it's kind of a little bit different. We do have, like Lexus is right next door, so if you have your drive aisle, these are all landscape areas, the drive aisle over here, so these are all landscape areas. So that's predominantly how you see it in the city and the other dealerships, but again, the other dealerships are not fleet truck dealerships.
Right, but you're saying if the landscape is not there, you're gonna park a truck there anyway?
Probably, but maybe not. It'll depend on what size trucks we're going to put in that row. And I can't tell you right now, oh, we're gonna put box trucks in this row, we're gonna put cabin chassis. We don't know yet. Right now, I have over 250 vehicles on that piece of property that the city's given me a conditional use permit for the last 2.5, 3 years. So
So I guess my question to you is why is this kind of a last minute request when it's, you know what I mean, the plans were already turned in?
it's not a last-minute request. I mean, 25 years ago, we didn't even have a landscape standard for auto dealerships. The city did not have one. And Tony, I don't know if you guys knew Tony Alamo, but Tony was actually the person that rode with me. We went around to shopping centers, and I said, we are not a shopping center. That's all display parking. There's no employees parking there. There's no customer parking there. It's just cars for people to see. And all the landscaping, as you said, 15 or 16% of our facilities landscape. So we have no issue with landscaping at all. And if you'd come by my dealership today, I think you'd find that.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I just drove there.
Well, thank you. Did you find it to be manicured? Did you find it to be attractive?
Yeah, I just don't like ever taking away landscaping, especially like if that's a display area where people are going and they're looking at things. I think it adds to it
It
instead
doesn't.
of taking away.
It doesn't. It
And
limits.
especially if you're going to park another truck there.
Well,
you know?
I don't know if we will or not. As I was telling Scott, most of these trucks require a 30-foot turning ratio. Some of them require as much as 37 or 38. That is a big area that's required. And my original plan was to put 500 vehicles on that lot. But when I started putting in turning ratios, the engineers said, that's impossible. Even if I just had pickup trucks, that would be impossible. I don't have enough space. So I'm not asking to remove anything else. All I'm asking is to let me use the display area as just a display area for my product. That's all. And if you look at my property today or the Buick store today, we don't have any of that. Honda store doesn't have it. And when you say Lexus has it, which is, I think, how all this came about, well, somebody said, well, Lexus did it. Well, Lexus didn't have the owner come and talk to the city. Lexus didn't ask for it. They hire an architect. They go to staff. Staff says, do this, and that's what they did. But I've been here since 1991. I mean, I guess you guys would call me an old timer. Don't call me that, please. But I am sensitive to the city of Temecula. I have been a big part of the city of Temecula. But I don't see why these 4 areas can be that much concern.
Well,
Especially,
I think if we have other dealerships that are required to do that, that is my concern.
they're not
Renee,
required. They're
could-
not required.
Could I jump in real
So-
quick? I think staff may have some other things to provide as you guys finish up with your questions and such, but I will just point out real quick that this isn't exactly like the other dealerships either, because this isn't mom and dad or family or whatever going to look at a new car, or a new minivan, or a new pickup truck. This is a commercial truck facility, so this is contractors and other folks like that who are going to look at the vehicles. So it's a little different. I'm not quite sure that the ambiance and the landscaping and such matters quite as much to them. I think what's more important is the landscaping that's been provided along the freeway to provide the aesthetic that we're looking for. And then as Scott's already pointed out, the main drive lane, the true main drive lane, does have the landscaping that is required by code. So it does fall on you guys to make that decision, but I did want to point that out, that we are looking at something that's a little different than your typical automobile dealership.
And perhaps so we can get back on track, if we can have the applicant team finish their presentation, we'll take questions from the commission directed towards the applicant. We can finish up with staff and then have our actual discussions and deliberations.
Okay. Did you have anything else to add?
Pardon me? Who asked me a question? Somebody asked me a question?
No,
or-
no, no, I think it was to finish your...
We just wanted you to
Let me introduce
finish your presentation.
Vince, who's
Go ahead.
done all of our design work on all 3 of our dealerships.
Okay.
Go ahead, Vince.
Hi, I'm Vince DiDonato. I'm with the Alhambra Group Landscape Architects.
Could you move your mic up a little higher?
I'm sorry, is that better?
Yep.
I'm with the Alhambra Group Landscape Architects. I've been in Temecula since 1986, and I was actually part of the team that put together that idea of display. And the thing that we're not getting about this is that landscape is a growing thing that we all know. And as hard as I try to pick the perfect tree that's not going to drop any litter or do whatever that's going to hurt the paint on these vehicles and that kind of thing, it's almost impossible. So that was why we actually said for display area, which is just the vehicles that are out there, we don't want to plant those trees because they don't need shade. Nobody's going in those cars to drive them and making it hot. Basically, what we did was said, we agree that you need to have shade for the employees that are going to work there and for the customers. But other than that, those other areas are just for those vehicles for display. So you have to look at the maintenance of those trees and things back there. On that drawing there, we didn't really have any trees originally, and then we were told because of what that ordinance said, we were supposed to put the trees in. And we had shrubs in there. Well, as you know, if you're looking at those vehicles, you're going to be stepping through those planters and that kind of thing, so it's going to be not sustainable. It's going to end up looking worse than it is if you don't plant it. So we're not trying to take anything out. I'm a landscape architect. It's important to me that the project's going to look good. But we're talking about, expensive vehicles that could get damaged by what those trees and shrubs are in those landscape areas. So that's all. I just want you to consider that as well. So.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Yeah, are you okay, Lene, with the questions? Okay. Anything else? Any other questions?
I have a question for the applicant. I have a question about kind of taking advantage of the display area off the freeway. Did you ever think about designing something where you can display more vehicles, maybe more like on a dock or something?
Yeah,
or
actually, there's a
something
pretty
where-
good slope on that. It doesn't really reflect it, but the building is going to look spectacular. It will be so much higher than our display cars. It'll look spectacular.
Tell them there are display areas off of the street, but not by the freeway.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
right.
I just think, did you think about taking advantage of the freeway facade, kind of displaying the vehicles in like a different way? Like Lexus has like an elevated area where they have the cars up on the top, like lit up. Is that something you looked
Actually, the
into?
lot is higher than the freeway.
No, I understand that. I meant maybe like more of a design where you could display the vehicles in maybe like a glass or some type of small.
No, it'll be glass on the front of the showroom building, but other than that, that will be. And once again, we have to follow Chevrolet's guidelines as far as the entrance in that blue area. Even like on my current dealership, we have to do the same thing. We'll do that on both sides. So.
Okay.
And Vince brought up something that I brought up 25 years ago. Actually, the clear coat on our vehicles now is better than it was 25 years ago. But for all of us, I know that have parked under a tree or been close to a tree for say for a few hours, you come out, if you don't rinse off the leaves that have fallen on your vehicles, you're going to have paint damage. And as I said, it's not as bad today as it was 25 years ago. The clear coat's gotten much stronger, but it's still, it is an issue having cars parked underneath trees, as most of us have probably always done.
I just have one question, sorry, about
Okay.
the insulated glazing. We have the board here.
Uh-huh.
Is that green?
Is that what?
Green. It looks green.
I'm colorblind, so you're asking the wrong person. I'll ask Sherry to,
All right.
I wouldn't know brown from blue for nobody, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
And I'm so sorry, our architect lives in North Carolina, which, as we know, kind of got slammed by a small hurricane. But I have him via phone. It was the only way he could be here with us, so.
So the question is, what color is?
Yeah, the insulated glazing.
What color is the insulated glazing? David?
That's, the reason why it's green is for the insulation.
Okay,
So
clear
it is,
glass
it is
with
that color
tin.
when it'll
right?
be up.
Oh, okay. Clear glass, is it tinted? Natural low heat tinning.
So
Is-
is it green?
Is
That's
it
my
green?
question.
Hurricane. Is it green? No, not green.
Not green. Okay, looks green. All right.
It's probably what's behind it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hold on. So sorry, guys.
Okay.
Any more for the architect while I have him here on
Yeah,
the
Gary.
phone?
For Vince, maybe.
Landscape?
You know, safe to say, we're all for more landscaping, more vegetation, less pavement, less concrete, less heat, et cetera, et cetera. But I see you've got a pretty good surrounding of vegetation. Not to be exact, but just roughly, what percentage of that total landscaped area would the removal of these 4 areas impact that bigger picture? Just a rough
Yeah,
guess.
I don't have the areas there, but they can't be more than a
5%?
couple hundred square feet for each of them. So
And what's the total for the entire?
I don't have it, it's on the plan, but it's not shown on the plan
Okay.
that's up there.
Well,
So-
just looking, it looks like it's a small percentage. So,
6.
and considering that those are, I'm assuming
okay.
that I-15 is just to the left of this,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, the
they're
freeway
within-
is on the left-hand side
They're
there.
within 40, 50 feet of the freeway, something like that?
The cars that are parked, the trucks will be
the,
parked there? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's about if you look at the size of that space, that's got to be at least 40 feet by itself.
Okay, well, I guess what my point is, it seems to be a small portion of the entire picture.
Yes.
And in this case, after the explanations that I've heard, and the fact that it's so close to the freeway and there's nothing else there to impact them, and I could understand the desire to remove those, based on the fact that you've done everything you can on the outside of it, and we do have landscaping, thank goodness. Like I said, I'd like to see more and more, but I understand the concern at this point, so
Yeah, I
thank you
think we're
for.
about 17% total, so if you take that out, we're still going to be like 16.5 or something like that.
Yeah, Commissioner Watts, I got the numbers. It's 41,409 square feet of landscaping, or 15.6%.
15.6,
So
yeah.
it'll go probably just below 15 if you
Yeah.
take those 4 out.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, that seems to be an acceptable trade-off.
Yeah, it's a large area there between the freeway and those cars. That's the biggest area, so.
The thing is, most people don't know that they can stop and look at all of Mr. Gilmore's fine trucks because the traffic's so heavy going northbound all the time. But if normal speed, they'd go right by and not notice your
Actually,
islands
they
at all.
stopped long
so.
enough, they probably can see all of them. My only question is, what is the largest truck that you'll either be selling or servicing there?
Give you an idea, I just sold a friend of mine who is does all the substations for Edison, and his truck was $167,000. It was 40 foot, and it was custom made, the body to fit doing electrical work with a lift and everything. We'll probably, just in the first year, do at least $100 million in sales. At least.
So what's the largest truck that you think you'll have on your lot?
You know, probably the largest truck we'll have will be either 45 to 50 feet long,
Okay.
and it'll weigh about 8,000 pounds.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we can go into discussion now. And you'd like to start, Adam?
Sure. Do you mind putting that landscape slide back on just so we can see? Yeah. So I would kind of agree with Gary. I know everybody likes kind of the landscape, but not cutting anything else out, seeing what Mr. Gilmore's done in town already, number one, but the proposed landscape around the entire perimeter, I think is more than sufficient for what we're looking at here. The gray area, I guess if we're gonna call it, for the adjacent driveway, I think it's very easy here to look at. This is on the other side of the building too. Where even like the Lexus dealership that they showed, you're pulling in and immediately hitting those islands. This is on the complete other side of the building. So understanding the concern of what's been explained for the operations of the area there, I don't see any issue with us, removing those 4 little areas of the landscape there. It makes sense to me.
Renee? Okay. Gary?
I really don't have anything to add.
Okay. Fernando?
I can agree. The percentage of landscape there, I just don't know. Is the commission allowed to? Is this something that we could remove just from the commission, or is this like a section of the code that there has to be a certain amount of display or landscape and display area?
There's not a requirement for specific amounts of landscape areas, so that's why the determination would be based on the location of the drive aisle.
Okay. I just don't want to not allow him to do it, and then another dealership comes and they said, well, they didn't have to do it. But because of this design and because the display of the cars are more in the front, I really don't see how we're required to have landscape. The only thing I can think of is maybe for the parking lot drainage and slopage and maybe the landscape, like the swales that are probably required. I don't know if we're there yet though, but other than that, I don't have a concern.
Well, and that's why I was just pointing out, because the verbiage that was used in the ordinance was adjacent to the main driveway, and then Lexus dealership was shown as an example where that is done there. But it's in my opinion, it's a very completely different entrance way coming into this, particularly because it's on the complete other side of the back of the building. You're gonna have to drive around the building into no customer, no employee parking area just to get
to see that,
just to even get to that spot, and they're just on the end cap. So.
Okay, my concern is that this is a dealership of trucks, not cars. It's not a Lexus dealership. And my biggest concern would be turning radius, trucks trying to get around without hitting other trucks. And what drives me crazy going onto some of our dealers' lots is trying to drive on them without hitting anything, and ending up with a bigger repair bill because you're repairing your car and somebody else's car. So I hear what you're saying. I think the aesthetics just isn't going to be that big of a deal there. I think the aesthetics that we really need is there, which is both on the front, on the dealer side, the dealer road side, and the back, which is facing the freeway. And also not to forget that along the freeway is a lot more land than I think it's well more than 40 to 50 feet even because of the creek that's there. So anyway, I don't see an aesthetic issue with removing them, so I would be okay with removing them. Lene?
Can I just ask a quick question of staff during this time, Maricela?
Yep.
Is that okay? So is there any concern with the flood control situation there? And Ron?
No concern. That has all been worked out before. The Prado development, the Lennar development that ran the storm drain down and around in the back, there's nothing going on there. As far as Empire Creek goes, that is not really under flood control jurisdiction. So they do not maintain it. The city does not maintain it. I understand that Mr. Gilmore is going to let it go, and so therefore an entity will probably pick it up and start to maintain that area. And Mr. Gilmore has given us right of entry permits to go in there for the cleanup, but it is not a flood controlled maintained facility.
Okay.
If that's what you're referring to, Empire Creek, right there between Armstrong.
And also like, sometimes the landscaping, right, is tied into all of that too. Does that affect that at all with these 4
No,
areas?
the Empire Creek is what's called an orphan project through flood control. It's not maintained by anybody at this time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Gilmore is a friend. I've known him for a long time, and he's done a lot of good for this city. So the questions that I'm asking are really, you know, my feeling is just that I want to be consistent with what we're doing for other dealerships too. I understand this is different. I understand it has big trucks, but you know, and that's why I kept asking is, if we're worried about the trucks turning around, but we're going to put another truck there, you know, it's kind of like, we're not that worried about it because we've got room for another truck. So, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on this because I feel like it would help how everything looks. It always helps. And I understand that there's trees and that causes problems, but you're always having to wash your car, you're having to clean things up. That's part of it. So I'm on the fence because I want to be consistent with what I understand that Mr. Gilmore hasn't had to do it before in his, but all of the other dealerships have. So,
Scott, can you pull up the section of the code? So we can all look at the code and then we can read it, or the section that.
And when did that take effect? Do you remember? I mean,
I have that information. September 22nd, 1998.
And just to be clear, so, and I think this was a question that Commissioner Solis had asked, this is not a requirement that the Planning Commission can simply waive. This is a matter of how are we interpreting this provision as it applies to this project. So I think that was what Scott, and maybe we could go through that explanation again now that we've had this discussion in terms of where does the display area actually end in relation to the main entry drive lane, because that would impact where you need to actually have the landscaping. So that's kind of what the discussion is now, of where are you making the determination that it ends such that they either have to comply with this requirement or don't have to.
Right.
Right, so it's I guess the determination is, where do you feel the main entry drive lane ends? So the display or the customer areas end here. So if you come into the project, you'd come in, you'd go around, come back out, or you'd park up here because there's customer parking in the front. So wherever the Planning Commission determines that the main entry drive lane ends, you could then determine that beyond that point, the in-display landscaping areas were not required.
and that was my point when I said the other side of the building. If the inventory and display lot and the building were flip-flopped, it'd be a lot harder to justify and say get rid of, but.
So cars will never be going through that back lot, period. Customers would never be going through that back lot.
There's customer parking in this area, so you would come around the corner and then park in these spots right here. This area.
But the entrance of the building is it on the north side?
Both sides.
It's on both sides.
West side, east side, excuse me.
East side, yeah. You see, now I would consider the display area to be all along Dealer Drive, and that's where I would be thinking of, I'm gonna go look at a vehicle, that's where I'm gonna go look at it. If I'm gonna have a vehicle serviced, that's where I might go in the back area.
But I also thinking I don't remember who mentioned it earlier, this is commercial, you know, this is very different than driving down Inez and pulling in for your oil change with a regular vehicle that we have also. So it is a little bit, you know, unique in that side. I just, with our purview of saying, is this adjacent or not, or where does that driveway end? I'm very comfortable stating and defending that it could end at the termination of the building there.
Yeah.
And then not
Where
need
is
it in
the
the back.
service area in here, Scott?
The service area is in the center of the building. So basically the entire building on the inside is the service area.
Not where the red dot is.
It'd be this whole area.
Okay.
And Lenny, I get your point. I've always been very policy. We want to be fair. We want to be consistent. And that's what I'm saying. I could justify and defend that. That's a very, for me, a very defining point.
The thing is, we have nothing to compare it to because we have no other truck dealers, so. And I would expect we probably don't have room for another truck dealer. I think you own probably the last available space that's in that area.
Yes. And you know, you're right, when you said.
Sorry, so the public hearing portion has already ended, so unless it gets reopened, we're in the deliberation portion.
All right, sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks, sit down.
Yeah,
All right.
yep, you can sit.
Thank you.
And can you show the front elevation, please, off of the dealer drive? So we can kind of see how, so that's the front, right? So when we would drive in, there's two driveways, so you can come in more to the right.
Yeah, you go in one on either side of the building.
One on either side. And can you go to the back one, the other elevation? That'd be more like storage, right? But you still have to have that facade for the freeway.
Correct, and then here's the one we were just kind of showing where it sits on the project site.
Gary, you have a comment?
It seems to me this just boils down to the fact of where we're going to draw the line on the driveway. And if we draw it as requested, we've solved the problem and we could just eliminate those things. If we draw it, meaning the whole lot, then we'd have to consider the fact that that's in there and we'd have to include it. I don't personally see the people walking back that area unless they're going to check out a truck they want to buy. It's like any car dealer. If you go and you don't see one on the lot, they'll walk you back to the storage. Am I correct, Mr. Gilmore? You can just nod your head if I am. But they'll walk you back to that area to look at a car, and they're covered with dust, and they're not all buffed out and detailed, but they'll sell you a car. So to me, that's what this is. This is a back area. I don't think the public's going to be there unless they're interested in a truck. And I would certainly be prepared to make that decision in a motion that we consider the request as being sufficient for the drive. I don't have the correct verbiage right now, but Adam gets what I'm saying, I think.
Yeah, I do, because I've been trying to craft like how this works, and I don't, Marcelo, you can let us know. Are we ready for a motion? I don't want to go, but I would make the motion that we approve the application, subject to the conditions of approval listed, without the requirements of those 4 additional islands in the back.
So so they would submit a new landscape plan subject to the approval of staff that would have the removal of those 4 landscaped areas.
Right, and I would think that the motion would have to include that where we consider the display area. Is that correct?
And also to revise the plan to show that the storage would be in the back, right? Because right now on the landscape plan, it says inventory or display. So you change that to storage area, and then you would put display area towards the street, display area towards the other side, and you clearly identify the back as a storage area and then the front as a display area. Per the plan A0.1.
So did Adam make a motion, or was he just speculating that he would make a motion?
I think we're trying to figure out,
Yeah,
I don't think we quite made a motion yet.
Wait, can I just ask, can I say, so that does say inventory and
Okay,
display
wait a minute.
in that area?
So there's no motion, right now?
No,
I don't think there was a motion. I think we were trying to figure out what it's going to say.
Well, there wasn't a second anyway, so I can still say something.
Oh, go ahead.
There wasn't a
We're
second.
still trying to figure this out.
So, it says inventory and display, but that's storage of trucks, it's not inventory and display? I mean, inventory, but it's not display?
I'm just reading the plan.
Right,
and
I am
if there's gonna
too.
be a revision of the plan, that it gets notated on the plan that this area is storage of vehicles. And then the front portion and the side portion where we identify the portion of display would be label display. And then I feel comfortable saying, this portion of the lot is display because it's off the street, and then this portion of the lot is storage because it doesn't have street visibility.
I don't want to confuse anything. You guys are kind of heading on your path, but I think we asked Scott to bring this back up because really the motion might describe or allow for the elimination of those landscape areas based on the Planning Commission's interpretation that they are not adjacent to a main entry drive.
Sounds good.
And it would also be more than revising the landscape plans. It'd be, be in any plan that shows landscape areas, those four, because we'd have the grading plans and the site plan and things of that nature. So we'd basically clean up the plan set administratively, still stamp it with this Planning Commission approval date, but just to be clear, it's not just the landscape plan.
Stuart, so what you're suggesting is that we bring this back?
No, not at all. I'm
no.
just saying that your motion might be based on the notion that the Planning Commission's interpretation is
Okay.
that those landscape areas can be removed because based on this section of the code, they are not adjacent to the main entry drive.
Right.
And I so move.
Is there a motion right now?
Yeah.
That's the motion with the addition that the applicant is to resubmit the plans to reflect the removal of those areas.
The removal of those. Yeah.
Second.
Do we have a second?
I just second.
Oh, you second it, okay. So, let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone against? You're okay? So you were in favor of, or just nothing? Sort of. So we have
Is
four and a
that a
half?
yes?
Four and a half?
Yeah, there.
Okay, that's a yes, thank you.
So it's 5-0, it's approved.
Can we just get a quick clarification? Did Commissioner Ruiz make the original motion? Okay, just for the record.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, we have commission reports. Anybody have, Adam?
Try and get this thing back on. Yeah, so real quick, I just wanted to report out. I attended the ribbon cutting yesterday for the I-15 congestion relief project, I believe is what it was called. Not only is it a great project to go through, but listening to all the partners that were there, got to give kudos out to our Public Works and CIP team and really the whole Temecula team. But I mean, we had City of Murrieta, WRCOG, Caltrans, RCTC was there, our senator was there, representative of Assembly. I mean, the whole works was there, and everyone that got up, I think really caught the collaboration and the teamwork that went in to get this done. And the comment was even joked about that, a lot of these types of projects are done in billions and take years decades, I'm sorry. And I think the comment was, this was for millions and on years you can count in one hand. So the kind of challenge has been thrown out, I think, for maybe Caltrans to finish their portion and can they get it done as quick as we did. But it was a great event, other than the heat. But it was really nice to see everybody come together and can't wait for those to open up.
To have it start and finish in the same year is almost unheard of. So.
Yeah. Yep, and it even got our friends to the north looking to say, hey, we want to push this up into their area anyway. But they recognize, and we I think joke about it a lot. But the Temecula way and Temecula leading the way and kind of setting that standard, it was very evident at the ribbon cutting yesterday as well.
Very well said. I was also there. What was funny and ironic is that getting there from my house took forever. So I was going to a ribbon cutting for the traffic congestion relief, and I'm like, where is the traffic congestion? Anyway, but we are working on it. Everybody that's listening out there, we see our staff, and I'm grateful for electeds that before us that really put that regional task force together to make that happen, because cities don't build freeways, and that's what we're doing. It's pretty incredible. So, and Ron was the shining star. It was kind of fun to see. He's like in his new role. So it was fun to see Pat there and some that had already retired, but Ron did a great job, except you didn't introduce the commissioners. Darn, next time.
I thought about it afterwards.
That's all right.
Gary?
No, I don't have a report.
Fernando?
No report.
No report. I have a little something here. I unfortunately couldn't make it because I was at the APA conference, the American Planning Association conference, for the last 4 days. The sessions were really good. There's some pretty scary stuff in there. I expect in a couple of years the commission will be sitting here without staff because their jobs will all be replaced by artificial intelligence. But somehow I don't think it's going to replace the attorney. I think it's not quite fast enough to be able to think. Yeah, so I think, you're good for another year or two after that. So, but I've about 3/4 of the way writing a report that will summarize everything that I got to sit through. And Marisol, I'll be giving you a copy of it to look at before I can give it to the commissioners, because I don't want to violate the Brown Act. And I just want to make sure, because there are some things I've already written in there that I may need to take out related to ideas that I had. So this goes a little bit beyond, just what I heard. So, but I will be sharing it with Matt next week, and some really good sessions. And I will say I met a lot of really, really good people who were very open to sharing, and bragged a lot about the projects that we've done here. And I will tell you, we've had some very unique things that you won't find anywhere else. Talked a lot about the freeway project, and I was called a liar by several people that cities don't do that kind of thing. And I said, well, come on down and see what we've done. So what always hits me is how outstanding our planning staff is, and some of the problems that you hear people talk about, they were our problems 20 years ago, and we made them go away. So I don't give all our staff the credit for all of that. So it's a very humbling experience to sit with everybody and hear everything that's going on. So that's it. That's what I've been doing for the last 4 days. And yesterday it did take me 2 hours to do the 45-minute drive. So it stopped in Menifee and it crawled all the way from Menifee to Riverside. So we don't have all the traffic problems. Okay, we will go to, we don't have any, do we have any subcommittees that have met?
Yes.
Gary, you
I'm
have?
gonna
Okay,
report.
okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the general plan subcommittee met today. General plan update subcommittee met, and we were briefed on objective development standards for residential and ADU type facilities. And so we're working with the consultants to develop those objective standards. And they will be much along the lines of our previously approved objective standards for multifamily housing, multi-use housing. So stay tuned. That will be coming with more information as we prepare to update our city's general plan. Thank you.
Community Development Report.
Nothing more to add tonight.
Okay. Public Works?
Just thank you for the comments on the ribbon cutting. It was a lot of fun, and there's no other projects that I have status on tonight other than the ones that are ongoing and on schedule.
Great. Then I shall adjourn the meeting till, when is our next meeting? We have one on the 16th scheduled? Okay. Okay. All right, until November. Okay.